Do not adjust your radio dial. You are tuned in to the Mark Order Podcast. Join the Mark Order.
It is Wednesday night, so you know what that means. A hard cut on the music by Ryan and no Kate, because it is Wednesday night and that's just a typical thing. She runs from the grind. Oh no, I had to do 30 WrestleMania shows. I can't keep going. Blah 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 blah. But we're here even though we didn't do any WrestleMania shows. It's me, Ryan, and my co-host, Joe. How you doing, Joe?
I'm good, Ryan. It's funny because I think was it last week that Kate was talking about how she was on this heater of a streak of not missing.
Should have known the minute she says she's on a heater. Yeah. Though I think, had you asked me last week, will Kate be there? Will Kate be here tonight? I would have said no. And because I know what her WrestleMania schedule's like. It is, even with ROH removing a show and lightening the load, it's still, no, what is, now Ophelia's saying, wow, you guys really hate women, huh? No, just Kate. It's very specific. We hate one singular woman because she runs from the grind. And we should always be grinding.
Ryan, I just want to let you know that I'll be there for you. These 5 words, I swear to you.
Yeah, I was going with the Friends song, and then you went.
Oh, no, I went Bon Jovi. I went Jersey.
You did. I appreciate it. When you said I'll be there for, I'm like, all right, if it is in my week, in my month, or even my year, but you went better.
How are you?
Good. Kind of a crazy week, but it's starting to calm down. Nothing special. I watched Mania this weekend. I actually didn't enjoy most of it, but I enjoyed some of it. What about yourself?
Likewise, I watched Mania and, it was fine overall. I think a lot of people complained about the build to that weekend. And I think it kind of showed itself and how things played out. But we're not here to talk Mania.
It was the big wrestling news of the week, and I know
it was really kind of quiet on the AEW. I feel like news.
AEW didn't have to do anything because WWE did all the work for them.
That's true.
They just had to just keep their mouth shut, and WWE just kept doing all the work for them. I will say, Rusev is back in the WWE. Former AEW Miro back in the WWE. Hopefully they book him similarly to his Redeemer run in AEW. Like, I would like to see a similar arc in WWE because that was a very fun version of him. Yeah. As over as Rusev Day was, I don't want them to go back to that.
No. I think his entrance kind of showed that a little bit, like the direction they're going. I'll be interested to see when Malachi / Aleister Black shows up.
Yeah, but that's true because then, I mean, he's kind of at least he's been pretty fairly consistent with his character over the 2 companies. They've basically been the same guy, whereas Rusev, Miro, whatever you want to call him, there was variance just in how he's been booked in each company within the company. You had Gamer Miro and then Redeemer, which was a huge hit. And then over in WWE, you had the original, and then you had some weird versions, and then you had Rusev Day, which got over in spite of every attempt in WWE to not let that get over. That being said, you're right, this isn't a WWE show, but it is wrestling, and it was relevant. WrestleMania will be even more relevant tonight because I need to be honest with people. About halfway through the show, the audio for the WrestleMania roast was put out on Fightful Select, and I began laughing as I was watching Dynamite. I watched, but I couldn't help myself. I was very curious to see what this had, and it wasn't great. It really wasn't. I mean, just wasn't good. I'm just gonna leave it there. But so Mania having a bit more of an impact. But one thing's for sure, AEW's been on what we call a heater lately.
The opposite of case.
Yes, exactly. Just good show after good show after good show after good show. And I think, Collision with this Thursday Collision was awesome. I get you can't move it to Thursdays regularly. The back-to-back would just be weird, to be quite honest. But then again,
they have a lot of Thursday Collision coming up in May, I thought I read.
Sports probably forced that.
Right.
But I enjoyed it. I mean, was it?
Yeah. Collision overall has been pretty consistently solid now.
They decided at some point, hey, let's actually make this a show again. And it's worked wonderfully. And then we go tonight, and yes, guys, we are going right into Dynamite. This is going to be a quick one. Joe and I both have early work mornings, so, and I know Scott is going to make a comment about Ryan wanting to end this early. No. Well, yes, I do like to end my hosting duties earlier because I'm not a great host, and I admit that. But also, it's just, I am up earlier than usual every morning this week, and it is killing me.
Hey, at least you wake up.
Yeah. Put on a little makeup. Sorry, seriously.
Who would have thought we would have hit Bon Jovi and System of a Down in the same episode of the podcast?
Only us. Oh, that I did see this and I forgot, but Big G pointing out Mongo McMichael died, and that's sad.
Oh.
That sucks. He was a big part of my early wrestling fandom because he was part of the Four Horsemen in WCW when I started watching. So for me, like, he was always just there and like a part of wrestling. And at 8, 9, 10, through those years, I wasn't judging work quality. I still don't judge it like Kate does. But I especially wasn't judging it then. So, like, I never was like, oh, he's not a good wrestler. To me, he was the intimidator of the Four Horsemen. Like, that was a thing to me. So I always enjoyed myself some Mongo McMichael. Were you a Mongo McMichael fan?
I mean, more of him as like a Bears player, I guess. Him as a commentator for a while. Him as a Four Horseman was kind of weird. I get why they added him, but it just felt, I don't know, he didn't fit the Horseman group to me. But
don't get me wrong, if I were watching WCW now, I would have big issues with it, only because he doesn't fit the Four Horsemen in the sense of what the Four Horsemen were. They were the best wrestlers essentially, and they were the Death. They were supposed to be what the Death Riders were. So it's similar, like all the best, like really what the Blackpool Combat Club was when they started, but similar. And then comes Steve Mongo McMichael to be like, well, I can't wrestle, but I can carry this briefcase and hit you with it.
Yeah.
But Scott George was a good point. At least he got into the Hall of Fame while he was still alive, and that is true. He, like I said, the fact was he was a well-known football player who transitioned into pro wrestling before the second boom of pro wrestling. So that was a big deal to have. The 80s, all the celebrities were there, and then they all walked away. And then in the late 90s, they came back, but he was there when no one was doing it. So that was a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, he was a good football player, too. Wasn't he like a guy who, played on a practice squad, got cut, and, decided to go wrestling. I mean, this guy was a solid, what was he, a lineman for the Bears?
Yeah, I don't watch I never watch the Bears unless they're playing the Eagles. All I know about the Bears is whenever I go, "Duh, Bears," which then leads me to the doubles. That's what I do.
Your reference.
Yeah. So yes, we are skipping commercials tonight, but we encourage anyone who's listening to us to go check out first the Shining Wizards podcast, because that is a 16, 17-year-old wrestling podcast that just keeps killing it week after week. And I'm really bad on how long. I mean, all of them with differing wrestling views, great insight, different backgrounds. You know, you look at that. Tony has wrestled, trained with some ECW guys, has done announcing. Kevin Rogue is still actively involved in it. Kevin Garifo does a lot of the backstage stuff for some local companies. And while Matt hasn't been as directly involved in wrestling itself, one, he was a backyard wrestler extraordinaire, and two, has encyclopedic knowledge of wrestling in a very fun way. So I encourage you to check out the Shining Wizards. Also, when they have an interview, you really should, because then they had maybe my favorite interviews in all of wrestling space, because they're just batshit insane, but in a good way, not the bad way. And then after you check out the Shining Wizards, check out the Shining Wizards Network, because there's a ton of great shows on the Shining Wizards Network, which if you listen to if you're a regular listener, which I'm assuming if you're listening to us, you probably are, you hear the commercials for them every week, and there are a lot of really good shows, especially you, Jesse Ozaki. You should go check them out. So that's my plug for the commercial this week. We're just, speeding along. So when I wake up tomorrow morning, I'm not a sad little boy. So we get into AEW Dynamite. Before we actually get into the nitty gritty, the details, the show itself, what did you think overall?
I don't know if I was as high on the show as some of the people in the chat are as far as really liking it. I thought it was solid. I thought it intrigued me with a lot of advancement in some of the storylines, kind of with the world title picture, maybe what we have coming up from Blood and Guts, things like that kind of intrigued me more than the actual show itself, I guess, in its totality.
Yeah, I mean, I actually enjoyed it. I think it's you had at least two really good matches in the tag match in the main event, and then you had another good match. But I think you also had some setups, which I think were important to the entirety of, a little bit more world building, which they do have to take some time, some weeks to do, because as much as they are about, they have gotten back to, I should say, being wrestling first again, which I'm very happy about. You still do need to set up some things outside of the actual ring. So I think that was tonight, which is why I can understand where you yourself may not have been as in love with it, because it wasn't as strong of like some of the collisions we've seen or some of the Dynamites. Because this week it felt like they took a step to be like, all right, we gotta lay some groundwork here. Yeah. We kick off the show in an interesting way.
I will say I will tease that I did have one issue with the main event. So,
you know what? Screw it. We're going to start with the main event then.
Oh man, what? Not gonna let me tease it and let.
Oh, you know what? Fine. I'll let you tease it, because I want to talk about Master P. Because there's just no limit to how I can talk about him.
You are about it.
Make him say, "Oh." Listen, a guy was a guy was popular when I know the reference. That was not
Ryan was a No Limit Soldier.
I was not, but that song was everywhere.
Oh.
Wasn't the video for that song where they had the tank?
Yeah, they were on tank. They're like all in basketball, like in a gym.
Yes, yeah, okay. I remember that. I remember that on TRL.
But yes, it was a lovely plug for donating money to the University of New Orleans NIL collective.
Is that what really this was all for?
I feel like that's what they were trying to raise money for. It's like you're talking about his involvement with the University of New Orleans, like the booster club, or like the club that helps raise money for programs.
That makes sense. I mean, listen, I don't think you need a lot of like a huge excuse to have Master P on your show because one, he has a wrestling background.
Yep.
He was his whole. I mean, what was it 1999, 2000, whatever, 2001, somewhere in that range for WCW. You had the No Limit Soldiers all in there. Like that was a thing. So I don't think it's the end of the world that you have him come in, and he didn't play a huge role, which I'm okay with. I prefer the celebrity cameos when they're these kind of funny one-offs rather than like huge roles. But he comes out and he introduces the Ops, which in a way made his thing seem even a little bit more relevant, where like they were getting he was there to congratulate them on their big win, which I appreciate because they're trying to treat the Big G pointing out that the No Limit Soldiers were with Rey Mysterio before it was Booyaka Booyaka 619. But the Ops come out to celebrate their victory over the Death Riders. I always want to call them the BCC, and I gotta remember it's Death Riders now. But their victory over the Death Riders, their victory celebration does not last long because those dastardly Death Riders, pieces with. He's also part owner of House of Glory, so Master P is still regularly involved in wrestling. So not just a celebrity cameo, like a wrestling cameo, and I can always appreciate that. So, which House of Glory, I know Mercedes has wrestled there recently, or will be, or just did wrestle there recently. There's a lot of going on there, and their name always sticks out because it's Hog. But as soon as Joe gets into his spiel about how cool it is to win, the Death Riders come out charging and they fight, and it looks like, oh no, the Death Riders are going to win, and then the Ops fight back, and Joe gets Mox into the choke, the Coquina clutch. But then the Elite come down and they have chair. They I forget if they had chairs or not, but I do know they beat the crap out of Joe and the rest of the Ops. But then Swerve shows up, and then when the Elite are running for their life, well, first the Elite have they're still trying to get in the good graces of the Death Riders. Please, Moxley, love me. But Mox isn't going to. Actually, Marina had to kind of escort him from the ring before he did something stupid. As he's being escorted from the ring, Swerve shows up. The Elite try to make the run up the ramp, and then Kenny comes out with a chair. I know he had a chair. And so they had to turn around. They had to go through the crowd like the Death Riders did. I actually really, like, I'm kind of giving it a poor description because it was kind of a clusterfuck, but in a good way. I actually enjoyed it because it's the first time they intermingled like 3 or 4 different stories here, and I really appreciated that. I guess that's Swerve isn't feuding with the Death Riders so much anymore. He's really with the Elite, but he still doesn't like Mox because he should have been for the title. The Elite are feuding with Swerve because they cost Swerve the title, but they're also feuding with Omega because of what happened before, and with Okada. The Ops and the Death Riders are directly in competition. However, the Ops also are a trio, and so is the Elite, so there's a little bit of crossover there. So I actually like that you have multiple stories intersecting. What do you think?
Wow. Yeah, there was like, what, 10 people involved in this opening segment within the first 5 minutes? I think is what I counted. I do like the fact that it does, like you said, intertwine so many different angles. There's a lot of matchups you can get from this cluster, whether it's the trio pictures with Death Riders, Bucks, and the Ops, whether it's the world title picture with Samoa Joe, Mox, Swerve, Kenny, there's that. There's also the thought of doing a Blood and Guts with a 5-on-5. So there's just a lot of things you can do going from this little mixing of talent.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about Blood and Guts. You saying it, Scott, in the chat saying I never thought of it, but that adds up. You have the people for it, so why not do it? But yeah, I mean, I just like the way they're intermingling their stories and they're setting it all. I'm a bigger my favorite, what I'm happiest in wrestling. It's part of the reason why I love stable so much is I like when wrestlers have multiple things going on at one time. So when there's multiple feuds for the title, when there's multiple relationships going on, that's why I'm the first to admit so much of the Attitude Era ages exceptionally poorly. One thing that it doesn't is the fact that at any given time, whoever was champ had like 2 or 3 major contenders coming at him at the time. And the same thing was happening in like all their title scenes and all that. That there usually was multiple feuds from overcross. And I always just love that because it keeps things spicy.
I just like the fact that we didn't get the usual, gang warfare beat down. Like we usually get, Death Riders help come out and jump someone by surprise and beat them down. We got a little bit of that, but then we got the other stuff along with it. So it was a little different than usual.
Yeah, you're right. It could have been an all-out brawl, but instead one side retreated. It started as a brawl. It's kind of funny. It started as a brawl and ended up not being a brawl. It's the reverse of gang warfare.
Mm-hmm.
Gang retreat fair. I don't know. I don't have a word for it.
No.
We cut to Renee Paquette backstage with the patriarchy. She's congratulating Nick Wayne on winning the ROH World Television Championship, which if most people probably don't even know. Christian takes the belt from Nick Wayne, being like, hey, I basically won this for you because of all my good advice. And then he makes a joke about celebrating extensively with Mother Wayne, who gave a funny, if you look at her face, she actually had a very funny facial response to that. But then Nick comes back and is kind of like, hey, you see what happens when you stick to the plan? You win. And it was a nice back and forth. I felt like real quick, Kylie, yes, Kate is running from the grind again. But I liked this because I think both sides had a fun little thing. Cage basically being like, you didn't win anything until you started doing things my way, and now you won. And Nick being like, well, actually, I followed through with my plan, and I won. I thought both guys had a point, and Mother Wayne got to have a funny facial expression. Do you have any thoughts?
No, other than it really just feels like Christian is trying to do to Nick Wayne what he did to Luchasaurus. Like where he helped elevate Luchasaurus. Luchasaurus won the title, but then Christian tried to take the title and all the credit. But this time around, Nick Wayne's not being as submissive as Luchasaurus was. So that's the one change in dynamic, which is kind of interesting. So hopefully Kill Switch can get healthy and back into this storyline a little bit.
Yeah, I listen. They're clearly breaking up the patriarchy. I think. Now the odd thing is, I think if you're going to break up the patriarchy, you're likely going to probably want to put Edge and Christian back together because now that Edge Cope has his issue with FTR, which then goes, how do you make Christian a face because he's still acting like such a dickhead? So it's kind of like, what do you do?
They jump him out and leave him on the island, and so he feels all lonely and desperate and had no one to turn to.
And then they can have a montage of him just walking the streets by himself
with the Hulk music.
You literally, I was thinking of the perfect music, and it is the Hulk music. But after that, we come back to a match of Mark Briscoe versus Ricochet. This is my surprise of the night, to be quite honest with you. It's not, the match was good. Back and forth, which is most of Mark Briscoe's matches are back and forth. They don't actually have him be squashed a lot, but I really did not expect him to do what happened, which is he won via pinfall with a victory roll pin. I would have lost a lot of money if you asked me to bet on this match. I would have bet a lot of money that Ricochet was winning. I would have said, okay, yes, Ricochet's having trouble putting Briscoe away, and Briscoe's craziness and his unique offense is keeping him in it. But how much? I mean, he's just been losing recently, but he wins. And then after the match, Ricochet hits him with a chair and then tries to get the scissors, but Kevin Knight makes the save and protects him. Did you think Briscoe had any chance of winning this?
I did not. It was a surprise because with how Ricochet had been doing with his character work and his in-ring, I thought this was going to kind of propel him to what was coming next for him. So I was not expecting him to take a loss. And I thought maybe with the loss, it would be interesting to see him question his confidence that he has right now by himself. But apparently it didn't. It could kind of help propel him into this story with Kevin Gates, I guess. But yeah, I did not see Briscoe winning, but it was a fun match with contrasting styles.
Yeah, because Ricochet's so refined in his style in a lot of ways. Like even his high flying, it's very refined. And Briscoe, obviously, this isn't the appearance of his style, because I don't want it to make it because he's so good that he's really just appearance. It's crazy. Like he seems like he's all over the place, that he has no style. And I know that's intentional, like that, but it's just wild to watch him wrestle someone like a Ricochet who's doing all these fancy flips with such precise timing, and they look so beautiful, and they're all these great. And then you have Briscoe.
I'm just interested to see. I thought the win, it would have been more beneficial for Ricochet to win. So I'm interested to see either how she's going to help him or what they're going to do with Mark, because I feel like Mark right now, he can take a win, he can take a loss. It doesn't matter right now for him. He's just in there having good matches.
I agree with that. The only thing I will say there is at some point Mark would have taken so many losses in a row that whatever shine you have on him of like he could take a win, he could take a loss, goes away. And it gets to the point where if he it's almost there with this match where you're like, holy shit, he wins. Now he hasn't been driven far enough away where I'm like, this is like Serpentico winning. Like it's not that level, but you have only so far that you can have him keep losing without a big win until it gets to that level where it's like no one ever expects him to win. So if he wins, it's someone losing to the worst wrestler in the company. So I agree with you. I didn't think Ricochet would be the one to take that loss, but at some point they did have to give Briscoe the win. Otherwise, he would become, and he'd become that like almost like a jobber, essentially. In the eyes of, I guess, well, that's if the fans care about wins and losses, and I'm not sure all of them do. I do, but you don't. I know you're like, I don't care who wins, who loses.
I just want them to have fun.
And it's all about the game and how you play it. We then move on to a little interesting development here. We have Tony Schiavone in the ring. He introduces FTR very reluctantly, but it's not FTR that comes out initially. It's Stokely Hathaway making his he's been absent for a long time, so long awaited reappearance, I guess. And now he is like the manager of FTR, and he introduces FTR. So before I get into FTR's comments and all that jazz, how do you feel about Stokely with FTR?
I can take her or leave it. I didn't think they needed a manager / advocate or whatever he is to them. I think they would have been fine without him. It adds a different little wrinkle to this, but to help them get even more heat, I suppose. And I will also say that Kate not being here, she got her wish as far as commentary tonight. And Tony Schiavone doing in-ring interviews only, and Ian Riccaboni at the desk.
Oh, yeah. Commentary was much better tonight based on Riccaboni and the way it was set up. Yeah, I didn't even think about it, but that is a Kate.
That's what we talked about last week about how we want Schiavone more in-ring interviews and having Riccaboni do some more of the desk work. But,
yeah. So they come out and Stokely does the initial talking and actually has some great. And first, I guess I should give my opinion. I love Stokely with him. I think he fits perfectly. I think in some ways because I think listen, FTR, as they will show in this segment, they are good on the mic, but they do lack a little of that
focus.
No, I want to call it. That's what I lack, but they lack a little bit of that annoyingness. I think you need sometimes as a heel to prevent yourself from being put back into face territory. And I think Stokely's a good job of pissing off the fans. So like, I think that'll, max out. But he makes a good point that they were suspended for what they did, but you have Ricochet trying to stab someone with the scissors every week. Hangman committed arson. I don't know if they referenced Swerve breaking into a house, but they should have. You have all these things, and yet FTR is the only one to get suspended. It's a valid point. Obviously, the difference being who gets attacked versus who doesn't get attacked. There's like that imaginary line in wrestling where like you could do anything you want to a fellow performer, but if you attack a referee, if you attack an official, if you attack an announcer, you've crossed the line. So like but it is funny that like he's not wrong. They do commit. There are some very illegal acts happening on AEW. I mean, we had one tonight.
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto occurred tonight. Like that's not a
not Grand Theft Auto 6.
Well, that's what, a year away?
No, I always love when heels try to have like reasonably justifications for what they do.
Yeah. And he had it. And so then you had Cash take up the mic, and he did a pretty good job saying like, hey, 2.0 stood in front of us. 2.0 wanted to fight us. They just weren't ready to fight. Pretty valid. 2.0 did confront FTR. It wasn't a one. They weren't jumped from behind. Their logic on Daniel Garcia doesn't really make sense, where it's like he asked us to stop and turned his back, so we had to hurt him like that. Okay, now you've left the territory of like, but I'm glad they did. I'm not complaining, because that's kind of where you become a heel, where you have a basis of logic and you go too far. Like you don't, like, you leave the reality of what a reasonable response is. Two guys want to fight you and you beat them up, fine. One guy tells you to stop, so you beat him up. Okay, that's not a good response. Now you're the heel. Now you're the bad guy. But they can't see it. They then invite the Rock and Roll Express into the ring because they were there tonight for some reason. Are they big in New Orleans?
I mean, it's the South, so I guess so, right? Because I feel like they're big all over the South area, South Territory.
Yes, yeah, you're right. I mean, still rocking the same hairstyles. Have I ever said what I think? What are their names? It's Ricky Morton and what's the other guy's name?
Robert Gibson.
Did I ever say who I think Robert Gibson looks like? I think I have before. Hold on. Let's see if I can pull it up. Did you ever see? Well, he's both in Follow he's in Follow That Bird, the Sesame Street movie. Let's see if I can find a picture of him. And I know that's a wild place to get the person.
Yeah. Welcome to this segment of the show where Ryan takes us down a rabbit hole of random references.
Yeah, but now I got to do it, and we are flying, so I have a couple seconds to make this work.
I just see the Rock and Roll Express, and I'm like, that's what like Matt and Nick Jackson are going to be like when they're their age.
Oh, well, I mean, Rock and Roll would be better if they cut their hair. Let's be fair here.
I'd like to hang on to that.
Joe Flaherty. You ever see Joe Flaherty?
Oh, no.
All right, hold on. I'm bringing it up.
You think Robert Gibson looks like Joe Flaherty?
Flaherty, yeah.
I can see a little bit.
Right? Like, I mean, I know it's not perfect, but it just always had a feeling. Oh, I forgot he was in Happy Gilmore.
Oh, yeah.
He always had that feel to me of like, and if I had his Follow That Bird, let me see if he's in, because it's really from Follow That Bird that we're, and yes, I'm still stuck on the Sesame. For whatever reason, that him in this movie just really made me think. I don't know, whatever. Now we're out of it. But either way, you see, but I'm not totally off.
No. I'm with you.
I know, guys. People are like, what the hell is he talking about? But yes, that's who I think he looks like, and it just makes me laugh every time. And yes, he was in SCTV. Was he in Strange Brew? He's dead now. Oh, This is really, I'm in my own rabbit hole. Sorry. This is what happens when you come on. We are flying. I'm okay to extend this.
You're doing so well.
Yeah, but this is fun. Did you ever see Strange Brew?
I think I have. I don't remember it.
I don't think he was in Strange Brew. Strange Brew was funny. It's a Canadian. It's about Canadians, and that's always funny.
Yeah, they
But
had Rick Moranis and
yeah, no, he's not in Strange Brew.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's the other guy. Anyway, back from my wild ass tangent. Obviously, we're not. I'm going back on track, but I do one time just want to host a show, and everyone has to be in agreement where I'm just allowed to go down my weird rabbit holes. It can't be a late show because we are going to go so fucking long. But just I want one show where I just lead us down the rabbit holes.
You could just do a special one-off show. You have logins. You can do this yourself.
I know, but I got to torture somebody if I'm going to do this. Someone has to be there to go on the roll with me. So anyway, follow that bird guy and Ricky get to the ring. And at first, listen, everyone knows FTR loves them. Loves the Rock and Roll Express. But in this case, Dax starts taking shots, being like, the Midnight Express were better than you. Which is funny. Then he makes fun of their age, which I guess is okay. I mean, I not that I have a problem with making fun of the age. It's just like, okay, they're old. But they attack them and they give Ricky the spike pile driver. It looks like it's going to even get worse. But then the Undisputed, what are they now?
They are the Paragon.
The Paragon runs out and makes the save. So I'm glad that it seems like that's at least a feud that's continuing. What are your thoughts, feelings, and emotions on this? Weird after we got through my weird rabbit hole.
Well, I think FTR are working their way down the checklist of how to get heat. Add in a mouthpiece, justify your actions, play the victim, attack legends. What else? They have their new shirt that says "Living Legend Pillars." So I feel like their RKO brethren might have a cease and desist for them. I feel like they're kind of buying off of Randy's moniker for a while. And I hate the name Paragon. I still don't like it. And it's weird that they're faces to me.
Okay. I mean, they are stealing Randy's gimmick, but I'm wondering if Legend Killer's a thing. I think they should be allowed to have it. It's not like, it'd be funny if they were like the Living Legend killing Vipers. They hear voices.
If they start giving cutters out.
So then we go on to a fucking incredible match of Kevin Knight and Speedball Mike Bailey versus the Young Bucks. Before I describe whatever if you hear those four names and think of how a match should go, it probably is exactly how the match went. It was incredible. The Bucks look awesome. I mean, I know they've had some matches, so this isn't their first match back, but they looked awesome tonight. Kevin Knight is just, fuck, that dude's good. And we knew Speedball was, so you had a nice mix. I laughed at Riccaboni going, "Go Ninja, go," because then I started breaking out into my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 song, which I'm not going to do here. Yo, it's the Green Machine. Gonna rock the town without being seen. It was back and forth for a lot of this. There was one part where Nick Jackson, I think it was Nick, announced his first super kick party, and it ended up just being everyone hitting everyone with everything. Super kick here, super kick there, clothesline here, dual kicks here. I just really fun. I don't mind those things. They're cheesy, but they're fun to me. Wow, I blanked. So it looks like, the Kevin Knight and Speedball might be. I was trying to remember if they had a name. They don't clearly. If Kevin Knight and Speedball are going to win, but Ricochet gets in the way of Speedball, which slows him down enough. Not Speedball, Knight, which slows him down enough for the Bucks to do their thing, and the Bucks win after hitting a BTE trigger on Knight. I don't love outside interference, so I'm going to say that because it's not my favorite way that this could have ended. I think the Bucks should have just won clean. They're the fucking Bucks. They're the established team. It's okay if they win clean. That being said, I'm okay that they're also... Oh, Speed Jet is what Ophelia said. Well, there you go. Why wouldn't it just be Jet Speed? Isn't Jet Speed an actual phrase?
I like Speed Jet better.
Yeah, but Jet Speed is an actual thing. Whatever. But I don't mind that they're continuing the Ricochet. Well, obviously they did it earlier, but I don't mind that Ricochet got one over on Kevin Knight because he has to maintain a little bit of his Jesse got me. It's Jet Stream I'm thinking of. Good call. The Jet Speed is what the speed of a jet is.
It's not ludicrous speed.
Ludicrous speed. No. My brains. I mean, I could quote that movie all day. But
no one will go plaid.
They've gone to plaid. We passed them, you idiots. Stop. We can't stop. That's such a God. I really wish they had made one for the search for more money. But what do you think of this fucking incredible match?
Yeah, I can't break it down because, like you said, there's a lot of moving parts, literally a lot of moving legs, and other than I was distracted by Matt Jackson's spray tan, which is like immaculate, like honey roasted color. I liked a lot of the kicks, like the Speedball and whether it's Matt or Nick, they had a lot of spots in the match where they just kept sparring with their super kicks or roundhouses. And I think one of them is Matt and Speedball both went up for kicks, like for super kicks, and they got caught up, which made me think of getting your Schwartz tangled from Spaceballs, and they had to sit there and untangle their legs.
Okay, put your leg on. Put your foot on my thigh. I see your Schwartz is as big as mine.
Right. Yeah, it was a fun match. I don't hate the idea of Speedball and Kevin Knight teaming regularly, and also I wouldn't hate the idea of Ricochet like kind of being an auxiliary member of the Elite. I think his character works with them.
Be Elite. I know it's not be Elite, but no, I agree. I'm full. He kind of works very well. I don't think he's going to be a full, but our auxiliary character of like, yeah, I'm not a member of it, but we get along because we're all arrogant assholes. That works really well. So I'm with you on that. It really, hey Benny. Oh, Benny with a great quote. Spaceballs. Oh shit, there goes the planet. The end of the movie when Mega Maid went from suck to blow. But it felt like an old school Dynamite in the sense of like that ridiculous tag match in the middle of the show. Like just so good. I mean, I would encourage anyone, if you're wanting to watch a match, go watch it. Renee does a quick interview with Tony Storm. And she sets up a challenge for this weekend, and Queen Aminata answers it. So that's going to be fun. She said cucking around and slop tarts, so that was also funny. And I'm just going to enjoy the match. So I don't really have much to say about it. I don't know if you do.
No, I feel like we've seen it. Not that long ago.
Probably, but it does. We may have seen it, but it doesn't stick out in my head. So let's just roll with it. Yeah. The Hurt Syndicate make their entrance.
They hurt people.
We hurt people. We hurt people. We hurt people. Sorry. What do you mean, Ben? What do you mean by why not more for the Queen? I mean, I'm excited for the match. If it's lack of reaction, it's just more that I don't. I love Queen Amanada. I think she's amazing. She's not winning the match. I would rather see Amanada win a match. So that's kind of where I'm falling on it. It's not that it's just that I think she's incredible. I just want her to win a match. That's all.
I would like to see her be on AEW television more and be put in the spot where a Statlander is, or where like Jimmy Hayter is at now, where they're kind of in contention for, a TBS title, or somewhere in that upper main event card thing more regularly. Not just the fact that she's really good and she'll get good matches out of people, but I want her to actually be put into a spotlight on AEW television.
Yeah. I agree with that. Tony, I will say I did. Yeah, I want her to be. I want when she challenges Tony for a title. The title. I think, oh my God, could she actually pull off the upset? I'm not saying she should be the favorite or anything, but like a moment of, is Queen Amana challenging? Is this a realistic? There's no expectation she wins, right?
No, and I agree, Benny. I she does deserve to be up in that upper mid card role. So,
and then of course Tony with her Empire that Strikes Back content, which was funny because I'm a Star Wars fan. I'm not trying to go hard into I've already rabbit holed us enough today. But there is not enough Empire to strike this back, so I will appreciate that quote. So anyway, Lashley's in there. So the Hurt Syndicate's in the ring. Lashley gets the mic because he wants to talk, but there's a commotion in the back, and it's MJF driving up in a very fancy car, and gives the valet the keys. I have to laugh. I don't know if it was Riccaboni or whoever said it on commentary. That's a long drive this has been a long drive from Long Island. I'm like, that's funny. Like, that's a funny comment. Max goes in and he does his typical spiel, and he asks for the thumbs up, thumbs down, and Shelton gives him the thumbs up. Shelton was very high, I guess, sold on the way that the Max and listen, Max has a decent sales pitch of being like, I could be that next piece. We could dominate this. Going to the Empire Strike Back, we can rule the galaxy together. But he's watching Bobby, and Bobby puts his thumb out, and he's like, wait. And he keeps trying to sell him, wait. So he offers Bobby the car. Now, I admit, if Ryan had guessed wrestling at that moment in time, he would have been wrong, because I predicted a beatdown. I predicted that Max purposely led him to the back to get beat down. That's not what happens. Max says, here, look at this beautiful car. And then Bobby's like, give me the keys. Max giving the keys. And then I saw what was happening. Bobby and Shelton get in the car. Bobby and Shelton turn on the car. Bobby and Shelton start to drive the car. And Max says, well, you got to let me. And Bobby gives him the thumbs down and then pulls away. I laughed and I highly enjoyed the segment. Your thoughts?
I think it did everything it needed to do during this little slow burn of Max trying to get with the Hurt Syndicate. I feel like they're inching along, but it's an entertaining inching along of playing Max out a little bit. He finally got Shelton's approval. He's still working on Bobby's, but I'm just curious to see what it's going to take to win over his favor.
Yeah, that's true.
He tried women. He tried cars. I mean, I don't know what does Bobby want?
I don't think Bobby wants MJF. I don't think that I think that's the problem, that no matter what MJF offers to Bobby, he doesn't want him.
I don't know. I'm still hoping that he gets Cedric hired, and that's.
But then Cedric betrays him, and that's
that
works for me. And then so we go and we have where are we? Oh, we go to commercial and then come back, and Renee is interviewing Hangman Adam Page about his upcoming match with Kyle Fletcher. He gets interrupted by MJF, which I'm happy to see they haven't killed this off. This is still an ongoing story. They trade some insults, and then MJF goes, "How does it feel to know you declared so early that you're gonna win the Owen, and then I just slip in the back door and I'm gonna win it all?" And then Hangman goes, "You don't know anything about the back door." And Renee gives a look. Renee's priceless. The reaction that she has when Hangman says, "You don't know anything about the back door," is perfect. MJF says he's going to do best. Hangman's going to choke. Hangman goes, "I'll give you something to choke on." I loved this segment. I mean, just so funny and so stupid.
I mean, it's classic old school like Heyman, humor. So the only thing I guess would have been more interesting if like Alicia too was the interviewer and they dropped that line, and then she could have made that like funny facial expression, like he's not wrong.
Yeah, like it's just the fit. Oh god, so funny.
But yeah, I like the fact that they're keeping the MJF Heyman thing from down the line, but they're still kind of keeping it in our minds.
Yeah, I agree. Then we have Brody King and Will Ospreay versus the Don Callis family, which feature Josh Alexander and Takeshita. Weird pairing in a way of Brody King and Ospreay, but I was okay with it. This is another very, very big back and forth match. Ended as I expected with Josh Alexander pinning Brody King, and I hate to say it, I love Brody King, but I knew he was there to take the loss because Josh Alexander just started. He's not taking another loss. He already has one on his record. He's not taking another one. After the match, they start beating them up, and then Hangman tries to come out, but Roppongi Vice, the newly heel Trent and Rocky Romero, which I love that they're part of the Don Callis family now, they attack Hanger and throw him in. Thoughts, feelings, emotions of the match, the post-match beatdown about Roppongi Vice?
Yeah, interesting pairing with Ospreay and Brody, but it was kind of fun. It was kind of like a big brother, little brother type of mentality with those two. And I thought the match overall really highlighted Brody and Josh Alexander the most, which I think those two needed the spotlight more than Ospreay and Takeshita right now. And yeah, I think Alexander coming in and getting the pinfall over Brody, I think that only helps him as he gets introduced into the AEW world. And the fact that the Callis family replaced two guys with how many, 2 or 3 other guys now, it really grew faster, more than I thought they would. I wasn't expecting Rocky, and I forgot Trent was even still a part of the family.
Well, yeah, because he got hurt,
right?
So he had to step back and not be part of the family. But I love Trent, so I'm not going to complain of his reintroduction into the world of the Don Callis family. Don Callis family has somehow fucking turned out to be like an actual good stable. It's incredible. They're a lot of fun. They're all the members seem to work well together. They're big now, which you have to worry about, but they don't. It's rare that they all show up at the same time, so like it works.
It kind of feel like some big New Japan faction.
Yeah, where like you don't what I don't want is every week for them to walk out as an entire group into the ring or something. I will get annoyed with that very quickly. However, if it's guys here and there doing their own things, I'm all for it. And then we go to our main event. It's Jamie Hayter versus Chris Statlander for the Owen Hart tournament. This is what we call a power match of two just powerful wrestlers beating the hell out of each other. Jamie Hayter wins with the Haterade. I get why Hayter won. I love Statlander. I would have been okay with her winning, but Hayter's Hayter. What'd you think?
love the fact that it was a main event. Really a big fan of both of the style of match they had with, like you said, power versus power. Sometimes two similar styles don't always work out the best. Sometimes it's nice to have the big person versus the smaller person dynamic, but these two seem to make the I'm gonna outpower you match the best. And it felt like a shadow boxing match, like where they kept trying to one up each other. My one gripe, which I said at the beginning, my one issue with this is that way too much of this match was done picture in picture. Like that commercial break felt really long.
Yeah. It really did. I was shocked though. The match ended quicker than I thought because
I'm surprised Hater won. I was thinking Statlander was going to win.
I think they're trying. Hater's still very much a fan favorite, fans love her. I think they're trying to recapture, in a good way, what she had before she got hurt, and you can't do that if you keep having her lose.
Yeah.
She has to get to it. I don't think she's going to win win the tournament, but she has to get far enough in it that people believe it. Because again, she was as over could be, and then that injury really fucked her.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the style these two had with each other. I thought they mixed in power with finesse in a really good way. And at some point, Statlander needs the belt. I will say that. Statlander at some point needs to have that belt around her waist. She is she is the and it's funny to compare the two, but it's true. She's the Orange Cassidy of the women's division. You need something, she's the one they call on. She always delivers a match. She can deliver a story, and she just the crowd gets into it. So but he may not have while Orange Cassidy hasn't had the main belt, he's had a belt. So even if Statlander doesn't get the women's championship, she deserves a TBS at some point. She has she consistently delivers.
Yeah, she is the real force.
Yeah, 2LTs says Sheeta too. I don't even know where Sheeta is.
Yeah, but at least she has had a world championship though.
Yeah, Stats should be world champ, but in the women's division, the TBS is just as important as the world.
Yeah,
because when you look at the people like Mercedes has the TBS, but that was our very quick rundown of Dynamite tonight. We said it'd be quick. Like I said, I got to get up early. I'm assuming Joe does, and if he doesn't, good for him. So it had to be a quicker one because I just can't go late tonight. Any final thoughts, Joe?
No, I don't think so. I think, like you said, I felt like this was more. It had some good in-ring action, but I felt like a lot of the things that piqued my interest was really just the advancing of some of the storylines, like some the opening segment, and that was mainly it, the big thing. And then there's some, the Herson storyline moving along, the women's title picture clearing up a little bit. So yeah, I feel like there's a lot of a good transitional episode.
Yeah, I agree. I think this was setting up a lot for future things, and that's what I'm very excited for. So, Joe, when you're not here, where can you be found?
Well, when I'm not here, I won't be here next week, but you can find me on social media at _Asian Joe. In my bio on my social media, I do have a link to my cereal review blog. I'm probably about 2 boxes of cereal behind. I have a couple I need to do, but I will get around to them eventually.
Don't let those things expire. Okay, you can follow me on all our socials at MarkOrderPod. And then you can follow my history blog, hereforhistory.com. I had a new article last week, and I had my follow-up article where I talk about what I thought interesting or important about it, and I reviewed the sources. This week, I'll have another one next month, trying to do one a month now. Well, 2 a month, but really one new topic a month. And I gave myself some headway to be able to do that. At _hereforhistory on Twitter, at hereforhistory in other places. And with that, you're going to hear me narrate my way out, which means I go to here, and I put up I clicked the wrong button, and then I put up the outro overlay, and then I hit Sure.
This concludes the